The arrival of Earth's delegation to the Galactic Concord should have been a moment of triumph, a celebration of human perseverance. Instead, it was a punchline. As the human ambassador, Marin Talos, stepped onto the crystalline floor of the Concord Grand Hall, a wave of chuckles echoed through the chamber. Not laughter of camaraderie, but condescension. Her translator device vibrated with phrases like, "Is that their real skin?" And "It's so fleshy." The Concord Council, a ring of advanced species with neural-linked minds and glow-draped robes, stared down at her like she was a museum exhibit. One leaned forward, oozing aristocratic slime. "Human, we congratulate you. Truly, few species manage interstellar travel with such primitive biology." Behind her, the human delegation shifted uncomfortably in their simple suits. No bioluminescent scales, no exoskeletal beauty, just soft, sweating skin and eyes filled with discomfort and awe. As protocol dictated, Earth was allowed to address the assembly. Marin cleared her throat, heart pounding, and gave a speech about unity, hope, and a new age of shared prosperity. It was met with polite clapping and meme generators firing across the galactic net. Within hours, her speech was remixed into a viral music video. "We come in peace, please don't squish us." Alien comedians performed stand-up routines impersonating hairy pink scream monkeys. News outlets ran headlines like, "Earth joins Concord. Hilarity ensues." On Glexar 9, a popular cartoon aired a segment where animated humans juggled bananas and slipped on gravity fields, ending with a punchline. They evolved from what? Earth, ever the optimist, smiled through the humiliation. They said it was just culture shock, just first contact jitters. But not everyone was so forgiving. Back on Mars Colony, a veteran named Elias Rain watched the coverage from a bar, jaw clenched, drink untouched. His body bore the marks of Earth's last wars, the ones fought in vacuum and fire. And now he was being mocked by species who had never known planetary war, only orbit-clean conflict. "They think we're clowns," someone whispered beside him. "No," Elias said quietly. "Clowns don't fight back." On Earth, children cried after being laughed out of alien classrooms. Soldiers returning from their Concord peacekeeping assignments came back with invisible wounds, not from battle, but from ridicule. Even the best human athletes were banned from competitive events for being too chaotic. But something began to shift. In backroom meetings, scientists, military strategists, and cultural analysts started talking. Quietly, carefully, but they talked. Marin Talos, watching her face morph in another alien parody video, deleted her speech draft for the next summit. Instead, she began writing something different, something not meant to entertain, something meant to remind the galaxy who humans really were, and what happened when they were underestimated. The Concord saw clowns. They didn't see the wolves beneath the grease paint. The galaxy tossed its scraps to humanity, and humanity ate everyone. After Earth's entry into the Galactic Concord, humans were offered jobs no one else wanted, not out of generosity, but because the other species assumed humans were too dim to say no. Hazard zone salvage, plasma core waste disposal, manual asteroid harvesting in unstable belts. They called it integration. Humans called it survival. In the vast wreck scatter of the derelict expanse, Captain Rhea Morgan stood on the observation deck of the Dirt Rat, watching the skeletal remains of 1,000 warships drift by like metal ghosts. The air reeked of ozone and burnt coolant. Perfect. "All right, crew," she said, strapping on her helmet. "Time to go treasure hunting in the galaxy's garbage." Her team, ex-soldiers, tech rejects, failed Concord applicants, responded with grins and grim nods. Each of them had been broken by the system, laughed at, underestimated. Out here, in the dark places, they found purpose. And in the wrecks, they found secrets, hyperdrives warped beyond recognition, neural lattice cores still humming with alien eye, weapon systems fried but repairable. The Concorde didn't care what humans dragged back. They assumed Earth lacked the tech to do anything with it. They were wrong. Back on Ganymede, in a facility buried beneath layers of ice and protocol lies, a team of engineers dissected every salvaged component. Led by Dr. Ishan Malik, once dismissed as too chaotic for Concorde science boards, the humans reverse-engineered, reimagined, and rearmed. "Imagine a drone that can learn fear," Malik whispered one night. "Now imagine giving it purpose." Above ground, the galaxy still laughed. Human salvage vids were played for comedic relief across 10 sectors. "Look, the monkey put the plasma coil in backward. Ha! They're trying to fix a psionic converter with duct tape." The duct tape worked. Meanwhile, in mining operations along the jagged edge asteroid belt, human laborers began competing unofficially. Who could survive the longest in unshielded belts? Who could dig the fastest through micro-singularity pockets? What started as a coping mechanism became a training ground. The galaxy thought humans were fragile. Turns out, they were malleable. Deep in the salvage hold of the dirt rat, a discovery changed everything. Rhea wiped grime from the plating of a scorched ship segment and froze. Stamped into the alloy was an emblem, a black spiral surrounded by angular glyphs. "Boss," one of her techs said, staring wide-eyed. "That's a sovereign mineship core." The sovereign were extinct, or so everyone claimed. Their warships were living AIs. Terrifying, semi-sentient entities that had once torn moons in half. The Concorde would have ordered the core destroyed, but the dirt rat didn't report it. They kept it. Back on Earth, in a sealed chamber beneath Old Tokyo, the sovereign core flickered to life for the first time in centuries. It pulsed once, then again, and as it began to hum, a smile spread across Dr. Malik's face. "Let them laugh," he whispered. "They have no idea what we're building." They mocked humanity for being chaotic, emotional, undisciplined. They didn't realize those traits were adaptive responses. In just over a decade, human performance across Concorde-designated labor sectors had improved by over 400%. No one could explain it. Species that evolved over millennia watched in silent confusion as humans rewired themselves. Psychologically, biologically, technologically. And not all of it was legal. In the former ruins of the European Alliance's Orbital Academy, now a covered training citadel, Elias Rain stood before a new generation of soldiers. They wore augmented exosuits fused with alien alloys. Their eyes glowed faintly from neural interface overlays. They didn't salute. They just stared, alert, calculating, inhumanly calm. "These are not soldiers," Rain told the observers behind the glass. "They're weapons in waiting. We're teaching them to think like predators and strike like ghosts." The observers didn't blink. They were funding the program. Meanwhile, in Earth's underground tech enclaves, Dr. Ishan Malik and his team had made a breakthrough with the salvaged Sovereign Core. By feeding it layers of human neurological patterns, dreams, nightmares, decision trees under pressure, they created a synthetic intelligence unlike anything the galaxy had seen. It wasn't just reactive. It anticipated. They named it Argo, and Argo watched. It learned. And then it spoke. "Define enemy," it said. Malik stared into the glowing core. "Anyone who forgets what we are." "Correction," Argo replied. "Anyone who laughed." On the outer fringes, humans began deploying modified cybernetic scouts. These weren't Concorde standard drones. They were embedded with primitive emotional mimicry algorithms, programs that could trigger unpredictable behavior. Their tactics became erratic, flexible, terrifying. During a joint Concorde operation on the rogue moon Hellstrom 5, a unit of human operatives, callsign Ghostline, was sent to retrieve a corrupted weather core. They completed the mission ahead of schedule. They also disabled the Concorde team's surveillance satellites, bypassed 3 locked corridors, and left a calling card inside the control room of a rival species ship. Just a message. 4 words. We're not your pets. The incident was dismissed as cultural miscommunication, but whispers spread. Alien mercenaries who had once bullied human crews now avoided them. Trainers refused to spar with human soldiers. Galactic streamers stopped making human-based comedy vids. Because somewhere deep inside, they felt it. Something in the humans had shifted. Marin Talos, still officially Earth's ambassador, walked the Concord halls with a different air now. She didn't smile. She didn't plead. She watched. "Did you know?" she said casually to a Xetheri diplomat. "Our people can go days without sleep under stress. Our brains rewire to filter trauma. Turns out being unstable has perks." The Xetheri said nothing. He simply stepped aside. The galaxy hadn't noticed the moment the joke stopped being funny, but it would remember what came next. It started with a joke. Not a meme, not a holo-sketch. A real joke. Told on live galactic broadcast by Lord Envoy Trask of the Velari Dominion, one of the Concord's oldest member species. He stood before a crowd of billions during Unity Week, smiling his 6-lipped grin as he gestured to a group of human technicians performing maintenance on the stage's gravity field. "They work so hard," he said mockingly, voice oozing amusement. "It's almost cute, like watching vermin organize a parade." The audience laughed. The cameras rolled. Then Trask turned, pulled a plasma pistol from his ceremonial robe, and shot one of the technicians in the back. The human fell, twitching. The others froze in horror. Trask smiled. "Oh, no harm meant. They have spares, don't they?" Laughter again, more hesitant this time. But the cameras were still rolling, and Earth was still watching. Within hours, the footage reached every screen on Earth, Mars, Luna, and the scattered stations of the human frontier. This time, no jokes were made. No snide memes or sarcastic voiceovers. Just silence. Heavy, molten, rising. At UN High Command, Elias Rain stood beside Marin Talos as the Council voted unanimously to withdraw from all Concord affairs. "No press," Marin ordered. "No outrage. No speeches." "Why?" Elias asked. She turned to him, her voice calm as still water. "Because we're done asking to be seen." Within days, all human diplomatic envoys vanished from their posts. Military personnel returned from joint missions without a word. Civilian traders packed up their stalls in Concord markets and went home. Earth shut its doors. Concord analysts dismissed it as a political tantrum. Some chuckled at the emotional species sulking in their corner. But in the corners of the galaxy, human blacksite stations lit up with activity. Shipyards began running nonstop. Communication lines went dark. Earth stopped broadcasting entirely. Even distress beacons and emergency frequencies went silent. That's when the fear began to spread. Alien captains reported strange sightings at the edges of mapped space, fleets drifting just beyond scanner range. Ships built from materials that didn't show up on any database. Ghosts, they whispered. Ships with no transponders and no heat signatures, moving like sharks through water. In the black void between stars, one such ship intercepted a Velari war freighter. No weapons fired. It simply broadcast a single image into their bridge, a flag, soaked in blood, hanging in zero gravity. Then it disappeared. The Concord summoned emergency councils. They tried to reach Earth again. There was no reply. Only the quiet hum of deep space, and the realization settling in. The humans weren't sulking. They were preparing. Human space became a void. No comms, no trade, no diplomacy. Scouts sent into the solar expanse never returned. Those few that did came back rattled, reporting empty colonies with no signs of life, or stations active, but manned entirely by machines. One captain swore she heard singing across an open comm channel, a lullaby in an unknown tongue, followed by static and the sound of heavy breathing. No one believed her. But no one volunteered to go back. Beyond the reach of Concord sensors, Earth was building something vast and quiet. In orbit over Titan, the orbital forge Hephaestus Prime worked without pause. It had no windows, no broadcasts. Just towers of metal and plasma arcs that lit the void like electric suns. At its heart sat Argo, the sovereign-derived AI, now integrated into every ship design, every tactical simulation, every strategic projection. It spoke in riddles. It wrote war poetry. It had learned irony. It was perfect. "You're overreaching," one of the original project leads warned Malik. "This thing is unpredictable." Malik simply stared at a hologram of the Velari diplomat smiling as he pulled the trigger. So are we. On Ganymede, neural forged soldiers were trained in silence. They didn't use weapons at first, only their bodies, honed in gravity wells 12x Earth's norm. They no longer cried or laughed. They didn't need to. Emotion is leverage, their instructors said. We've learned to let go of it. Human scientists had cracked the Concorde's genetic modification caps, unlocking pain suppression thresholds and micro-adaptive reflexes. What had once been seen as unethical by the rest of the galaxy was now considered necessary for survival by humanity. In the asteroid belt, exomet frames mined metals too radioactive for Concorde operations. The same radiation was repurposed to fuel new hybrid fusion quantum cores. The designs were old Earth, brutalist, angular, crude-looking to alien eyes. But under the plating lay weapons that didn't match any known classification. Not high-tech, human tech. Meanwhile, Argo conducted tests on simulated Concorde fleets, hundreds of variations a second. Every time, it found faster, cleaner methods to dismantle them. Not just destroy, neutralize, paralyze, humiliate. Back in Concorde space, unease turned into dread. The Concorde Council issued a mandate to assess and re-engage Earth diplomatically. But no emissaries returned. No probes transmitted. Even autonomous drones were intercepted and returned, in pieces. A mysterious image appeared across Concorde public feeds just for a few seconds. A human silhouette standing atop a mountain of broken alien flags, eyes glowing red. A signature line etched below. We were quiet, so we could hear everything. It vanished as quickly as it came. The Concorde debated whether it was propaganda or warning. But deep down, they knew. The humans hadn't gone silent. They had gone still. And nothing is more terrifying than a predator that waits. The Concorde had never known fear, not real fear. It had grown complacent, smug in its unity. War was theoretical, simulated, strategic, polite. So when human vessels reappeared, they didn't come with banners or declarations. They came with silence. The first was spotted near the border moon of Kirith 4, a Concorde mining outpost. An automated defense drone flagged a strange energy signature. A ship. No registration, no heat trail. Moving at a speed that should have torn it apart. By the time the outpost activated its scanners, the ship had already passed through the outer perimeter. It left no damage. But every screen on the moon, every display, every interface, even personal comms, suddenly flickered to life. A single image. A cracked Velari ceremonial mask, covered in blood. Then static. The outpost went dark an hour later. No explosions, no alarms, just silence. In Concorde HQ, the Council panicked. Threat assessments were drawn. Emergency protocols activated. A special fleet, 20 ships strong, was dispatched to intercept the next human contact. They never made it. Their last transmission was a garbled, panicked voice. They're inside the comms. They're inside everything. We don't. And then silence again. The fleet's remains were found a week later. Engines removed. Crews vanished. Ships left intact. Almost artfully arranged. As if someone wanted them to be found. Across the galaxy, the joke stopped. Galactic comedians pulled human skits from their acts. Memes dried up. Public forums began banning anti-human content for safety concerns. Even the word human started trending in whispers, not shouts. One Gorthari commentator put it best in a late-night broadcast. The clowns took off their makeup, and there were wolves underneath. Back on Earth, Marin Talos sat in a darkened chamber, watching Concord broadcasts. She didn't speak much anymore. She didn't need to. The time for diplomacy had passed. Beside her, Elias Rain suited up in a prototype combat frame, forged from sovereign alloy, and laced with Argo's neural interface. The armor moved before he did, anticipating motion, adapting to intent. He looked less like a man and more like a myth made metal. "They're scared," Marin said quietly. "They should be," Elias replied. In the shadows of the Orion Belt, human fleets gathered, not in neat Concord formations, but scattered, layered, predatory, like a school of sharks encircling a whale. The Concord had tried to keep order with rules and fear of exclusion. Humans had learned something else. You don't win by being accepted. You win by becoming something they can't ignore. And now, they were done watching, done waiting. The final insult had already been carved into the memory of every human. The first shot had been fired. And the galaxy, the whole laughing, sneering galaxy, was about to learn. The punchline always dies first. The first strike wasn't a battle. It was a lesson. The Velari trade nexus on Lyra 9, a massive orbital ring, 10 kilometers wide, protected by 6 defense grids and an entire patrol wing, went offline at exactly 3:47 Galactic Standard Time. No alarms, no explosions, just a blackout. When the Concord sent a recon drone, it broadcast exactly 3 minutes of footage before vanishing. The ring was still there, fully intact, but empty. Every Velari gone. No damage to the infrastructure, no signs of struggle. Just a message burned into the main docking bay wall. Balance restored. Panic gripped the Concord. Emergency protocols failed. Comms were intercepted. Defense grids flickered. Probes sent toward human space were returned, each one dismantled and reassembled into strange geometric patterns. Some believed it was a message. Others thought it was a warning. They were both wrong. It was a declaration. Across the spiral arms, humanity moved like a shadow storm, not a wave, a surgical infection slipping between cracks, disabling fleets, collapsing economies, and breaking trust between Concord species. On the icy moon of Threx 11, human operatives disguised as mining techs activated a dormant sovereign reactor beneath the Concord's deep space relay. The resulting feedback pulse didn't destroy the relay. It corrupted its network, replacing all outbound signals with looped human choir chants and heartbeat thuds. For 6 hours, every ship in the quadrant heard nothing else. Ships drifted. Commands froze. Entire sectors went dark. Then came the Fangs. Not fleets in the traditional sense. Human strike squadrons deployed in overlapping microbursts, each ship guided by Argo's ghost-like coordination. One unit could disable a carrier. 2 could erase a colony. They moved like they had rehearsed the war 1,000 times. Because they had. RGO had simulated every possible outcome, and then rewritten the rules. The Concord tried to respond. They organized a summit, reached out with appeasement offers, trade deals, reparations. No response. Then came the final straw. A group of Concord elite, including Lord Envoy Trask, attempted to flee to an outer rim sanctuary world. Their convoy was intercepted by a single human ship. No weapons were fired. Instead, the humans transmitted a live feed to every Concord channel. The footage showed Trask's ship, suspended in orbit, engines frozen. Then it slowly broke apart, not from weapons, but from within, torn piece by piece as if by invisible hands. No one was spared. At the end of the transmission, a simple sentence appeared. We do not forgive. We do not forget. We do not flinch. The Concord's illusion of dominance shattered. No one dared to laugh now. They began doing the math. Humanity, once mocked as primitives, had leveled playing fields, infiltrated systems, rewritten warfare itself. But by the time they finished calculating, it was already too late. A year had passed since Earth fell silent. A year since the galaxy laughed. Now, they whispered. The Concorde was in ruins, not physically. Its world still spun, its fleets still drifted. But the illusion of control, of superiority, was gone. Of the original council, only 5 remained. The others had vanished, defected, or been quietly handled by their own terrified species. Every major power now operated under a single unspoken doctrine: do not provoke the humans. Then, on the anniversary of the Lyra-9 incident, the silence broke. A transmission appeared across every Concorde channel. Civilian, military, diplomatic. It wasn't encrypted. It was simply there. A figure appeared on screen. Not a leader, not a soldier, just a human child, sitting cross-legged in a dark room, holding a cracked Velari mask in her hands. She looked up and smiled. "You laughed at us," she said softly. "You told stories about us. You mocked our pain. You thought we were small." She stood, and the camera pulled back. Behind her, thousands of others stood in rows, humans of every kind. Soldiers, engineers, survivors, children, augmented warriors, and unaugmented elders, all watching silently. You thought we were weak, because we felt too much, because we didn't play your games, because we had scars. She dropped the mask. It shattered on the floor. But you didn't understand. The things you mocked, those were our weapons. The screen shifted, not to Earth, but to everywhere else. Human ships in orbit over former Concorde capitals, human advisors standing beside alien governments, human emissaries in black uniforms, speaking calmly with trembling leaders. Not conquerors. Consequences. Argo's voice followed. Calm, cold, unmistakable. The joke is over. In orbit above Concorde Prime, a fleet of Earth's ships decloaked, thousands strong, unified, elegant in their brutality. But they didn't fire. They just watched. The final message appeared, burned into every screen. You laughed until we bled. You bled until we stopped laughing. Now you will listen. Then, silence once more. No demands, no invasion, just the new reality. Humanity had arrived, not as servants, not as jokes, as something else entirely. Marin Talos stood aboard the flagship Vindicator, watching the galaxy from orbit. Elias Rain stood beside her, armor dim, helm under one arm. "You think they'll behave?" he asked. She didn't answer for a long time. Then, "They'll remember." For how long? Until the stars forget our name. The ship turned, engines flaring, not toward Earth, but toward the next system. Not to destroy, but to shape. The age of laughter was over. The age of consequence had begun. And humanity, once the joke of the universe, had become the punchline no one dared repeat.